Hello everyone, I hope all of you are fine. So today we will discuss about magnetic field of a toroidal or endless solenoid. So what is toroidal? Toroidal is a hollow circular ring on which a large number of turns of a wire are closely wound. So like if we take a circular ring which is of insulating material and we wound it by wire of n number of turns, having large number of turns of a wire, so that system that will be formed is known as toroidal. Or we can say that if we bend a solenoid in the form of a circular shape, that's also a toroid. So today we are going to find out the magnetic field produced inside a solenoid, and we will apply the Ampere's circuital law to find out the magnetic field. So we'll find out the magnetic field inside the toroid, outside of it, and in the core of it. So as you can see in the figure, this is the toroid in which I current is flowing from here and entering from this direction and leaving in this direction. Okay, we'll choose 3 points. One within the circle, this where no current is flowing. One inside the core of this toroid, which is the circle, and this point P. At this point we'll find out, and the third one will find out outside at this point R. So at 3 points we will find out the magnetic field. First at Q, second at P, and third at R. So if we choose a point, so let there be a point inside the core of the solenoid. This will be known as the core of the solenoid because it will have the current. When current will pass through this toroid in the core of the toroid, so magnetic field will be produced. A very strong magnetic field will be produced, and we are going to find out the value of that magnetic field using the Ampere's circuital law. So here I have written, let there be a point inside the core of the toroidal. Consider a circle through the point P lying within the space enclosed by the windings of the toroid. Let A be the radius of this circle is A. Let A be the radius of the circle. Now applying Ampere's law to this circle, we know that line integral of B dot dl will be equal to mu naught into I. Let I current is flowing in this toroid, so we can say that and small n be the number of turns per unit length and which carries a current I. So in that case, line integral of B dot dl will be equal to mu naught into I. Now B dot dl, since at each point on the core B and dl will be in same direction as we have discussed earlier, so here also B and dl will be in same direction at each point on the circle. So here we'll have B dl cos 0, and B will be constant at each point. The magnitude will be same, and line integral of dl will gives us 2 pi a circumference. So here also we have I, the current flowing in the circuit, will be equal to n into I naught, where n is the total number of turns in the toroid and I naught is the current in each turn. So I will become equal to n into I naught. So we can write the equation 1, that is B dot dl equal to mu naught into I, as B into 2 pi a. This value we have got B into 2 pi a, and I is coming equal to n into I naught. So B into 2 pi a will become equal to mu naught n into I naught. So B will become equal to mu naught n I naught by 2 pi a. So B will become equal to mu naught by 2 pi n I naught by a. So this is the value of the magnetic field inside the core of a toroid. Clear? Also you can see that here the magnetic field varies with A, which is the radius of the circle which we had drawn. Is it? So this value, when it will decrease, the magnetic field will start increasing because they have a inverse relation. Is it? Now if small n is the number of turns per unit length of the toroid, then small n will become equal to capital N divided by the circumference. Is it? So we can have this equation, this n upon 2 pi a, we can replace it by small n. So B will become equal to mu naught n into I naught. Now the field at point Q, because here no current is enclosed, so in this case we know that when there is net current, no current threading through the area, so in this case the magnetic field will be 0. So that's what it is written here. The field at point Q is 0 because there is no current enclosed by the circle through Q. Similarly at point R, here at point R the magnetic field will also be 0 because here also no current is there. So in this case we can say that the amount of current entering the toroid and the amount of current leaving the toroid, here the upper part entering and this part entering and the back part. So at all the point near this toroid here outside, the net current will be 0. Inside current will be equal to the outside current. So therefore net current will become 0, and when net current is 0, so magnetic field will also be 0. So outside and inside you will not get magnetic field. Inside the core of the toroid we will get a strong magnetic field whose value will be equal to, B is equal to mu naught by 2 pi n I naught by A. Or we can have B is equal to mu naught n into I naught. So thus the conclusion is that the field of the toroid is thus 0 at all point except within the core. Now what will be this is the one part. Now this chapter we have moving charges and magnetism. So first we have discussed about the magnetic field. Now we'll discuss about the moving charges, and here we'll get the definition of the magnetic field. Also we'll get the units of the magnetic field. So this topic is force on a moving charge in a uniform magnetic field, and using that we can define the magnetic field. So you know that when a current carrying wire produces a magnetic field around it, is it? We have studied by the Oersted experiment also, we know that a current carrying wire around it produces a magnetic field. So by the experiment it has been found that if near the current carrying wire where the magnetic field is produced, we bring a charge and that charge is moving, so it will experience a force, and that force is known as deflecting force because it changes the direction of the charged particle. So suppose this is a wire carrying current I. So we know that around it will create a magnetic field. So magnetic field will be created around it, is it? So in this magnetic field, if a charge is brought, if suppose Q charge is brought in this field, and if this charge is stationary, so in that case it will not experience any force. It has been observed by the experiment, when the charge is stationary then it will not experience any force. But when this charge is moving, so like we throw this charge in the magnetic field, in this magnetic field with v velocity. Okay, here the magnetic field is v. If we throw this charge with v velocity, it has been found that this charge deflects. Okay, so there is a change in the path of the charge when it is moving in the magnetic field. So instead of going straight, it deflects either in this direction, means in different direction. It has been checked when the charge is thrown in this magnetic field. So instead of charge going straight, it deflects from its path. There's a deflection in its path. Is it clear? So why the charge will deflect? So that means it is experiencing a force in this magnetic field, then only the charge is moving. Is it? There is a change in the path if this charge is going straight, and here when it is moving straight, and in the magnetic field instead of going straight when it is in moving condition, it is found that when it is moving, so there is a deflection. That means there is a change in the path. It has been observed, instead of going the charge, instead of going straight, it is deflecting from its path. So that is the conclusion. That means there must be a force acting on this charge, due to which there is a deflection observed by the charge, and that force is known as the deflecting force. Clear? And its value has been found out as the F is equal to Q into V cross B, because this force which is being observed by this charge in this magnetic field is perpendicular to the direction of the velocity and the magnetic field. It has also been observed that the force which is experienced by this charge in this magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of V and B, that means cross product. Clear? So this is your deflecting force. So if a particle carrying positive charge and moving with V velocity through a point P in a magnetic field, then it will experience a deflecting force F, and the magnetic field B at point P is defined by the equation F is equal to Q into V cross B. So as you can see that this V cross B, this is a cross product, and we know that the cross product, after we get the cross product, a third vector, and that vector will be perpendicular to the plane of these two vectors. V and B both are vectors, and the cross product of it will give us the third vector, that is F. So F will be perpendicular to the plane of V cross B. So in magnitude, this is in vector form we are writing this equation. In the scalar form, that means when we write its magnitude, so it will become F is equal to QVB sine theta. Clear? So here is a diagram, you can see I tried to make. So just these are the planes. In this plane you can see if magnetic field is in y direction and the velocity means the charge is moving in this direction, which is x-axis, so and it is making an angle theta. V and B, they are making an angle theta with each other. So in that case the force experienced by the particle will be in z direction. Is it? By the vector product, you all have studied, I hope. In class 11 we have studied about scalar and vector product, and in that we had found out that the cross product or the vector product of two vectors gives the third vector whose direction is perpendicular to the plane of the two vectors. So here F, the direction of F will be perpendicular to the plane containing V and B. So this is the plane containing V and B, the xy plane. So F will be in the z plane. Clear? So here in this case F will be in z plane. Now to find the direction of this F, we have two rules. First is that we had used in finding out the vector product direction, that is the right hand screw rule, and second we have the Fleming's left hand rule. I hope all of you all know about Fleming left hand rule. In class 10th we have this, and right hand screw rule is very well rule in known rule. In class 11th it is given. So what we have to do in right hand screw rule, so we have to keep a screw where the two vectors join, the tail of the two vectors join, and we have to rotate the screw from the smaller angle, that means from V to B. So when we rotate this screw, it is from V to B. When we rotate the screw, it is anti-clockwise direction. Is it? So in anti-clockwise direction it will move in outward direction. So in this case the magnetic field is in upward direction or outward. Here it is the plane that I am showing on this copy. So this will be the upward direction. Also you can find out by this right hand thumb rule also, like if V is in this plane, so we have to keep our this palm in this direction of velocity, and we have to enclose this, we will curl our fingers such that this magnetic field will be included in it, and the thumb will give you the direction of the force. Clear? So this is the direction of velocity and this is the direction of magnetic field. If I keep my palm like this and I'll curl my finger, so the thumb will give me the direction of the force experienced by this particle. Clear? Also we have the Fleming left hand rule. I will tell you further how to use this rule also. Now we have the magnitude of the force on this charged particle is F is equal to QVB sin theta, where theta is the angle between V and B. Now when this force, the charged particle will experience maximum force. When theta is 90 degree, that will be the maximum value of sine. So in that case, the force experienced by the charged particle will be maximum, and we can say that in this case V will be perpendicular to B. So F will be equal to QVB sin 90, and sin 90 is 1, so F will become equal to QVB. So you can write here F max as the suffix. Okay. Now when F, V and B are perpendicular, means the charge is moving along the direction of the magnetic field or opposite to the direction of the magnetic field. So in that case theta will become 0 degree. That means the charge will not experience any force when V is perpendicular to B. When the charge is moving in the direction of the magnetic field or in opposite direction of the magnetic field, so in this case no force will be experienced by this charged particle. That means if it is not experiencing any force, so we can say that the charge is at rest. So what we can conclude, that F will be 0 in this case because QV sin 0. So it means that if the charged particle is moving parallel to the magnetic field, so it does not experience any force, or anti-parallel direction also it will not experience any force. So if in this case also, in this formula, if V will become 0, the velocity of the particle will become 0, in that case also F value will be 0, is it? Velocity, that means the charge is not moving, it is stationary, so F value will also become 0. So this means that if the charged particle is stationary in the magnetic field, then it does not experience any force. Now to find the unit of magnetic field, now using this formula we can find out the magnetic field. So F is equal to QVB sin theta, so B will become equal to F upon QV sin theta. Now if force is equal to 1 Newton, charge value is 1 coulomb, velocity is 1 meter per second, and theta is 90 degree, then in that case B unit will become equal to 1 Newton upon 1 coulomb into 1 meter per second into sin 91. That will be Newton per ampere meter. That's what we have written in the starting of this chapter, the unit. So B will become equal to Newton per ampere meter. Here coulomb per second will become ampere. That's what is written, ampere. So this will become Newton per ampere meter, which is equal to 1 Tesla. So the SI unit of the magnetic field is Newton per ampere meter, which is known as Tesla, a very famous unit of the magnetic field. Also we have another unit of magnetic field, that is Weber per meter square, which I already have explained you. It is being found by the using the magnetic flux formula, the Weber per meter square. So how we can define the magnitude of the field, that is 1 Tesla. If a charge of 1 coulomb moving with a velocity of 1 meter per second perpendicular to a uniform magnetic field, it experiences a force of 1 Newton, then the magnitude of the field will be 1 Tesla. So 1 Tesla will become equal to 1 Newton per ampere meter or 1 Weber per meter square. What about the dimension? So the dimension will become equal to B is equal to F by QV. F is MLT minus 2, Q is AT, V is LT minus 1. So dimension of B will become equal to MT minus 2, A minus 1. Clear?